So, a warm welcome once again to Mr. Srinivas and Ambesh Tiwari. Welcome to the panel. I am Siddhie Mhambre, the founder and head of Studio 88 Pictures. And understanding the background and looking after the day-to-day operations or overlooking the financial, I personally am also involved into creating a lot of IPs. Understanding the background once again, we would love to know that what exactly inspired Sony Green Gold Animation and TV Asahi to collaborate on Obocchama-kun.
So, first of all, thank you for having us here. The story goes back, for those of you who do not know, Obocchama-kun is an IP that started stopped actually about 30 years back. And it was during the lockdown that Sony acquired the previous 3 seasons, close to 160 episodes of Obocchama-kun, and we saw unprecedented success. Because something about the character really resonated with our audiences, and that kind of led us to reach out to our wonderful partners with TV Asahi and Shinye, that can we revive Obochama, can we actually bring it back to the screens about 30 years later. And then the idea was pretty much a no-brainer for everybody, and Green Gold of course being the absolute best in what they do. So that's how we all the parties got together and we decided to go ahead with recreating another season after 30 years.
Do you have anything to say?
So,
your thoughts?
the original creator, Mr. Kobayashi, is 71-year-old person, and he created this, like Ambesh said, 35 years ago. So, it was a very enthralling journey for all of us, collaborating together between TV Asahi, Shinhe, Sony and Green Gold. It was a very lovely project.
Fantastic. Congratulations first of all onto this venture. Also, we learned that the sequel shall feature the scripts and the character designs originally developed in Japan, while the animation shall be developed and produced in India, now marking a fusion of creative talent from both the nations. How did the collaboration shape the final outcome, as per you?
So, what happened was the stories were still written in Japan. It was written in Japanese, and then they were sent over to India. It was converted to English and then converted to Hindi. And once the script and dialogues were ready, then it came to us, and we started doing the characters and the storyboard and all. The very interesting thing here was we didn't have any reference. We didn't have any digital files. What was created 35 years ago was only on screen. So we would get screenshots, look at the screenshot and create everything digitally. So it had to match very clearly to those specs. So it was a very difficult task, very challenging task, but all of us together pulled it off.
Ambesh, what are your thoughts onto that?
I think one of the good things that we did, and I'm more than happy to share that our team, Rona Joy, Shantala, Shubroto, the guys who worked on it, are here. And I think a big part of the success of the IP was in the way we localized the IP. So, for example, you saw there's something called Friendship Ka Tika that did not exist like originally. And it's, whenever Oba makes a friend, he puts a coin on their head because he's a rich brat. So the way we, I think, localized it also, we ensured that Obochama pretty much looks like an Indian, sounds like an Indian, and, not just an Indian, but a very bratty Indian. So once that ethos was set, I think the ability to adapt and craft newer seasons became a much simpler journey.
Since you mentioned that this property is already a 30-year-old property, how did you actually balance staying true to the original while developing and updating for today's audience?
So, the original animation was created 35 years ago, and there are no digital copies. So, whatever existed was the videos. Then we had to look at the videos. When you recreate a show, what is important is that each of the character has to stick to the original characters. They cannot deviate. So you cannot just animate. You have to watch. You have to understand the characteristics of the each person on the show, and then so everybody about watched about 40 episodes of Obachama before they started to even do storyboarding. So that was required. There is very unique. There is a lot of exaggerated expressions that the character has. The relation between the father and son, the relation between the butler and the family. All these we had to copy to the core. On top of it, all the Japanese, like for example, when to wear shoes, like you leave your shoes outside the house, you wear a different set of shoes inside the house, and you go to the washroom, there is a different set. You have to take care of all these things, and like how in a tea party, how they drink tea, how they hold the cup, everything had to be followed.
All the details in
Yes.
short. Can you walk us through the creative process of reimagining the show from concept to execution? Now, this is something personally even I would love to know, because while creating our originals, I understand that the entire process is like, giving birth to a child. So it definitely takes a 9-month process, go into the labor and then give birth to the child. So could you explain us this entire process?
Sure, thank you. I think that's a very good question. I think what's very different with these kind of characters or stories is that, given that the original manga existed, so there was always a framework to refer to. So the original creator, Mr. Kobayashi, was always with us. He was the one who was crafting the narratives, where I think Green Gold and Sony really played a good, strong role, was the fact that we could ensure that the Indian ethos is sort of preserved and well represented. And I think, the scripts were worked upon in Japan by Mr. Kobayashi and the team there. They would come to Sony, we would look at the localization factors, we would look at the fact that what's worked, and then, it would go to Green Gold for further creation.
So there used to be always one level of back and forth between Sony and Green Gold, and then next level between Sony and TVSI, and then so there was a lot of back and forth.
I understand. And while creating all this, what were the biggest challenges creatively, technically, that you guys faced? If I may ask.
So creatively and technically, I think to create the character the way it was 35 years back, it was all hand-drawn. It was manual animation. So when you draw manually, you have those jitters, right? In Flash, you won't get that. So you want to take it as close as possible. And all the backgrounds, the colors and all that to match to the original set. And then each characteristic of each of the characters in the show, you have to maintain that. So those were the biggest challenges.
And what about you, Ambesh?
I think where we paid special importance to is the humor relevant, because A, Mr. Kobayashi himself is slightly senior. B, I think we also looked at the fact that it's a 35-year-old IP, right? So I was 2 years old when Obocchama came. So things like there's an element of an underwear. It's an AI underwear. So some of these elements were added to make it more contemporary. But I think the manga and the character was so amazing that it's timeless. So even after 15 years, we may be sitting here with more seasons created, and it will very seamlessly continue.
Now, just giving an example, I also loved watching this property. Dennis the Menace, if you remember, during our childhood, since you mentioned that you were also 2 when this property was there, running in the show. That property particularly had its own tone, humor, and probably our audience today may not be able to connect to it. So basically, while developing this again, how do you think that the humor would get adapted to the global audience with the Obocchama-kun as a reboot?
So I think what has happened is we at Sony have some incredible experiences with historical IPs. We're now home to Shin-chan. So we've seen how every year after year, I think the the tempo of the humor keeps going up. So I think we have now enough experience and expertise to actually adapt a property. So we are very clear about our brand. We stand for really fun characters, whether it's our original IPs or acquired IPs. So this was pretty much batting on a flat track. So we knew exactly what we were getting into. And therefore, and given the fact that Mr. Kobayashi could very seamlessly do it too. So it was one of those rare occasions where 4 partners came on board and everybody's expectation and delivery was to the mark. So it was, to be very honest, it was a very easy job because he understood the humor, we understood what we wanted, our inputs were well balanced, they understood what we wanted, and everybody delivered a spectacular show.
Okay. How important was it for the reboot to reflect Indian cultural nuances while retaining the show's Japanese roots? Now, again, we have a cultural difference. So Indian roots are different and Japanese roots are different. So how do you think you are going to make it now?
I think, I would also here take this opportunity to mention our wonderful marketing team. Because when we even market the show, it almost feels like Indian. Now, the reason why that has happened is because the ethos of the Japanese culture and Indian culture is a lot in families. And therefore, because who is Oba? He's a notorious billionaire. Billionaire who? He's his father's son, right? So some of these nuances are so seamless between the Indian society and the Japanese society. And everybody in this room would understand that nepotism is a big theme even in our country. So I think even when we were selecting the IP, we knew that this is something that will be very, very relevant for Indians. Thank you.
So I have personally watched a couple of few episodes of Obocchama. That is, what's making me more curious to understand that how are you going to bring the Indian roots to it. So you're not going to tweak the story much. Are you going to tweak the story, the concept?
No, not
into
a lot.
the reboot? Not much. Okay. Moving on to next. What does success look like for the rebooted Obocchama-kun? Are there any plans? Okay, now this is again personal favorite of mine because finally it comes to me as a businesswoman. Creatively you work and think differently, but by the end of the day you also want to create your own proper merchandise, create a big market for it. So are you looking forward to any merchandising, games ahead, or expansion, further diversifying the property?
No, absolutely, because we invest a lot in an IP, and as a broadcaster, what we also invest is our airtime, the promotions, the language, the localization, multiple things, right? So there's enough and more gone via multiple teams inside. And we are very certain, along with our extremely wonderful partners at TVSI, that we should be able to crack the merchandising market very well with this. So it's just come back 2 weeks back on Indian television, and I think it's rated very well. So we are looking forward to expanding in multiple genres and categories.
Fantastic.
So I think you should ask him next question is when are you green lighting the next season?
That's what I think, the diversification or like particularly many more seasons if you're expanding.
Yes, we are looking at that, and I think pretty soon we will be announcing the next few seasons. Can I take this opportunity to just call the team which has worked here? Because
Certainly, please.
So Ron, Shantala, Sujoy, Richa, Palak, Shubhroto, please. So this is the team that tirelessly for years worked on Obocchama on behalf of Sony. It's very easy for me. Please come here. So it's very easy for me to come here and give big lectures, but I think this is the real team that made it happen on ground. Guys, can we have a big round of applause for the team that's made Obocchama possible, the team that's made it Indian?
Yes.
So Sujoy, Richa, Palak marketed it, so they ensured that it looks Indian. Shantla, Ron, Shubhroto adapted it, all the scripts went through them. And of course, the very wonderful team at Green Gold. So a big round of applause to them.
Amongst the team, I would really like to ask, is there anything you would love to share as a quick thought on your work, on your fantastic work?
Most of the excitement of Obocchama has already been shared, but it was an amazing time to be able to see the nuances of this character, and I'm really hoping, and I'm quite sure about it as well, that Obocchama is really here to make a mark with the Indian audiences. Ron, you want to say something?
No, I think we have already spoken about Obocchama a lot. I would like to thank Green Gold, TVSI, Shine Animation to have such a wonderful partnership. We could bring this IP together to the screens again. Thank you so much.